matchup we have in front of us. On Nightblood Gaming 2, I wanted to highlight Son of Car, no sleeper. That duelist kind of slaps, and I'm really excited to see how this whole thing kind of shakes out, because only real ones really remember Son of Car just absolutely tearing things up in November, almost making a crazy run, honestly just garnering the internet's complete attention for what this player was capable of, and is now in Challengers. So a lot of things ahead of us, and already TSM is kind of taking things a little bit slowly here. They are feigning a little bit of sound over towards that C site, but now are making their way up towards B.
Yeah, their reputation for Son of Car is clearly stuck around. That comes after Kumi was one of the best duelists of the previous stage over on Funhavers. They still have enough confidence on Nightblood Gaming to give Car that duelist role and relegate Kumi to the still frag-heavy Sentinel role, as he's going to be the one mainly watching A main, as that is where the spike is traversed over to. But TSM still well spread, playing a heavy pistol default here, trying to search for some early easy kills on any member of Nightblood who might get a little bit antsy. No doubt a good opening strategy to go for against the team that is not as experienced in Challengers, but the players on Nightblood are plenty experienced. None buckling, none breaking, just throwing a little bit of util to ward off TSM. Still,
left.
They've kited themselves over to A, where they'll be able to gain a little bit of space and a lot of bit of sight.
Now plant should go down fairly easily here. Kumi already ready. Timotino kind of playing with disaster, trying to find out an advanced angle, but should be a nice 5v5 or retake for Nightblood Gaming as they get themselves set up.
Here.
GMD on a really long-winded wraparound, not too much intel, but will at least set up a smoke. Over on the steps as Timotino will start walking in on that waylay. A lot of eyes on that for sure, but Timotino plays what he's comfortable on. And on this map, apparently, Timo's comfortable on the waylay. Rest of TSM, more than comfortable in wherever they've decided to perch with these sheriffs in particular, as Alvin and Seven are going to grab the majority of those last kills, and TSM will have a heavy opening pistol.
Yeah, a great final ending there for TSM. Gonna stellar as ever, of course. Seven just kind of lighting it up. I think that was a collateral with the sheriff as well. Excellent way to start things out. And talking about Timotino being on that duelist, I still remember when Timotino was kind of ushering in the era of Yoru. Back when that wasn't exactly your most popular duelist pick, Timotino was kind of at the front of it. And you know what now? We're seeing Timotino pick up that waylay as a TSM. They're already going in on the beat.
Yeah, heavy run in from Timo.
Spike planted.
Just gonna hold down the baby door as nobody from Nightblood is gonna try and jump in early. Play for some late kills here. Car does have this shotgun, so maybe see Screwface trying to play off him. Has a couple prowlers to work with as the door will get opened. TSM. A lot of setup to deter it. Shouldn't be too much of a problem here as Car is toying with the saturate. Timo will fall to it, so NBG is in on site and actually does have the man advantage here. Revora still has a rifle, so shouldn't have too much trouble here, right, guys?
Enemy remaining.
Guys, Screwface just running in!
Thrifty.
Oh, Bucky in hand as well.
And that's certainly one way to win your first round ever in Challengers, man. I mean,
hey, whatever gets the job done. Nightblood Gaming pick up there first. And already, a little bit of a technical pause coming right at you. Maybe someone spilled a little bit of spaghetti on their computer, something like that. But still, excellent job from Nightblood Gaming, just kind of holding things down for that entire B site, just ready to just flood in onto B. TSM, they weren't ready for it at all.
absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Screwface, beautiful. Just overwhelming with that util on top of Timotino's hold. TSM doing everything right for that execute up until that point, though. Just came down to executing on the fight for the post plant. And Nightblood Gaming really stunning, quite literally, at least at first, but then coming in after the fact and at least scoping out part of sight, able to smoke themselves away, keep 3 members on. Screwface just said, screw it, I'll just run it down. And gets a double kill to wrap up the round. Instant turnaround here on Lotus. And in all respects, we were expecting a bit of a tech demo here for TSM, really, walking into this. Not just because, obviously, you know, their insane amount of experience, the exciting pickups of Alvin and Timo, but also the unfortunate fact that there is a sub for Nightblood Gaming here. Smiley, unfortunately, not able to play until next week, along with the new map pool that both these teams will no doubt be boasting with their play styles. But until then, Tora already doing a really great job of trying to play that universality here on Lotus with the Breach.
And just on your screen there, we've also got the core up against Cubert Academy game happening on that other one. And you know what? Speaking of all the teams kind of finding their new members and stuff like that, Cubert Academy looks so promising with a couple of their pickups as well. So if you want to go check that one out, we've got it on the side stream. But of course, in the meantime, we're just focusing in on TSM up against Nightblood Gaming. And curious to see what they're going to be continuing to move forwards here. I wanted to highlight one of the points that was made on the desk, specifically about Timotino playing that waylay. That does require a lot of support just to make sure that the waylay just doesn't kind of fly in and then immediately get cut down. Because we've seen it so much in VCT. Teams trying it out. Teams are trying to make sure that that thing works, but it never felt like it was ever really grounding it. But that's kind of why I like NA Challengers. A lot of learning can kind of go on here. A lot of figuring out how to support some of these new agents and honestly solidify new metas.
Yes, many important lessons can be learned by players. A lot of times, unfortunately, the hard way, but that just means we get more clips. So ultimately, I think everyone kind of wins out of it. So yeah, talking more about how this waylay kind of transfers with the rest of TSM, Alvin on that Viper is going to be really the other point of magnitude for me. And, you know, talking more in depth about how these two players sort of fill in for the roles of Sim and Recoil, which were such big holes to fill on this TSM squad. You know, with 7 GMD and Vora, you have 3 of, as we've seen already proven, the greatest minds here in North American Challengers. 3 of the smartest guys who currently play this game, understand the game sense, such flexibility, they can really do anything. And so, at the end of the day, you really just need 2 guys who can take direction really well. And Sim and Recoil, they certainly did that. Timotino and Alvin Boy in previous teams, across previous games, have also shown that they can really execute on a dime. And I'm hoping that we see that timing really get fostered on TSM over this stage. I really hope that they have the time and space to do that. Timotino, unfortunately, going to get an early shot to the dome here as Nightblood Gaming have a bit of a heavier hold on the C site. The TSM are still trying to bolster just a teensy-weensy bit before they go for whatever stack on top of this half-hearted buy. They go for it. Car playing good keep away. Kumi preventing GMD from moving forward on the TP, and so far, so good for Nightblood on this anti-eco. Couple attackers just searching for some wanton kills, but Nightblood Gaming proven to have an extremely staunch defense so far this half. Just incapable of pressing more forward than they need to. Haven't really extended past those spawn points at all, in fact. Son of Car also getting a 3K on the board. They're only 2 orbs away from that showstopper as the ult economy is starting to look okay for TSM too, so they can quickly recover, especially if they're able to get a decent chunk of this next round intact. Of course, we have yet to really see a proper execute for TSM apart from that pistol round where they were able to dominate an isolated fight or two and just kind of snowball off of that. But as we've seen the past 2 rounds, Nightblood have been a little more tuned in. Does that continue coming into round 4? Screwface already picking up that Odin, just letting it rip across the A door as they'll get a little bit aggressive into rubble. TSM gonna pump up the gas just a little bit towards Mound now in response. Nemo just gonna hop on. Can back up if he needs to, but members of TSM already in. GMD just holding on to that smoke, and Nightblood Gaming, they're just gonna let it go. They don't want to go through all that rigmarole. They just want to play. And Vora is gonna play. Steps up to the challenge and grabs 2 on the waterfall. Nightblood Gaming still have a proper crunch intact, though, from the back. Note for 1 on the flank, and they have to pay attention to him. But Son of Car is still lurking from the behind. And Tora enabling him the whole way through. Says, go forward, my wayward son. Do what needs to be done. But Timo able to counter him. The duelist still intact on the sub. And Nightblood Gaming will fall in the end. It does take a lockdown to kind of poke the bear a little bit more, but TSM will tie things up at 2. Though again, still kind of scraping it. Vora will have this Nightfall coming into things, but Nightblood can arguably get even more confident and aggressive, either on Rubble or Mound. So we'll see if TSM kind of slow things down a little bit coming into this round. Welcome back, man. I missed you.
Speaking of tech bosses, could use one on my own.
I know. We all get a little one. Oh, okay. Car still somehow finds one, even though that arc is a little wonky. But it just means that you have to get aggressive on this if you're Nightblood Gaming. And with the Nightfall, they have full reason to. They'll lean into the pit, grab a very fast round here, make it 3-2 again.
My ultimate is ready.
And once again, we have to raise that question right now of that underdog buff coming in. I know all of us, we all voted on TSM being able to win this one, trusting the system. TSM, they practice. They should know what they're doing. Even if they are bringing in 2 new players onto the system, they should have some sort of protocol put together. But what we've seen from TSM throughout the entirety of their Challengers Stage 2 run was Lotus was not one of their stronger maps. And especially too, just bringing in 2 players into your current system, that is not necessarily going to be able to solve some of the issues going on there. Already a bit of a scrap outside of A, and yeah, that's going to be Son of Car blowing GMD out of this world.
I just really appreciate Son of Car just always going for it, even though he knows he's not in an optimized position, even though he knows he's not, moving in an optimal way. He knows it's enough to get at least that kill that they need to gain back advantage. And TSM, yeah, they're in a standstill at this point. They just have to wait out the fire. That is Screwface's. He's just going to let it rip through these walls, almost grab a little bit of extra damage. But that just gives every reason for the rest of Nightblood Gaming to start getting more aggressive and confident themselves. Vora, it's only a matter of time before he gives that little health pool away into another swing, but TSM still paying attention, and Screwface now getting a little pressed. Alvin Boy able to find the shot, and TSM able to find the sight.
Should be able to go down nice and easy. 4 members of Nightblood Gaming on this retake. Son of Car, the Spear looking for things. Will get spouted out by that Prowler, but now makes the advance forwards.
No need to shroud anything about this. Vora already aggressive on the peak to get that C's down. Kumi getting forward on the drop. Timatino again, a little bit overextended, but you have to be on the waylay. A risk that TSM have to be willing to take, as the tree hold has to hold strong. 1 for 1. Alvin Boy against 2 with the Sheriff. It's not going to be enough. Nightblood with the halfway defuse, they're able to finish it off before the timer runs adrift, and now double their lead.
You've heard of the some swing, but that time it was Kumi just jumping around the corner, going for such a wide angle. Especially to Alvin Boy, only with the Sheriff in hand. You have to do some unreal just tracking to make sure you can find those 2 final kills. Honestly, a really good effort from TSM. They were able to get that spike down and make it competitive for what they've got, but just couldn't quite get it across the finish line there. And once again, I think that Nightblood Gaming, when you see the synergy that they're kind of moving in together with, it's looking really good from this squad. And we know that previously, Lemonade Stand, these guys, the core of this current Nightblood Gaming, they were pretty good at a Lotus. I believe they had a win rate of about 76% here. So bringing in Screwface as that kind of IGL to make things work better, we're seeing maybe some of those results.
That continued into their run as Berserkers on Premier. Timatino using that ultimate to get forward, but no, able to fully dodge it and just sprays through onto what he knows is backing it up.
Spike planted.
Knowing that that support is available is all you need to just keep shooting. And it nets Nightblood Gaming a 5v3 on this retake. TSM have bar nothing to throw at this. A Nightfall, hell no. Viper's Pit, why even bother? Just give the round over already. As with the help of the Steel Garden, Nightblood Gaming make it look easy. It's a flawless round 7 that drives this stake into the gullet of TSM's attack.
Flawless.
A full reset now necessitated for TSM in all ways, shapes, and forms. As Unfortunately, these executes are just missing out on crucial details that Nightblood have just been able to squeeze a kill in on top of every single time. It is uncanny. And you already see Nightblood starting to plot on how aggressive they can continue to get on what they know is going to be a rifle round, what they know is going to be an ult-heavy round. Nightblood Gaming is saying, we can continue to have that confidence to poke in. We can continue to look for that opening kill before TSM gets the stack prepared to start swinging. TSM have lacked a lot of aggression over on Rubble. If they've ever pressed forward, it's more been on Mound, and you're able to put a lot of Vice util there if you're able to just play that keep away. And so if anything, they know that they can get at least one open sight lane that they can just gun it down towards. They know there's always an opening that TSM has just been handing to them completely by accident. And it's been resulting in such a staunch defense from what was initially this premier squad. What has a sub on it this week? What an opening. Still so much game to play though, as Nightblood have the stack. Right up B main. Turret catches it. How much of it do you catch though? And Screwface still able to hold his own. Seven has a great peek to catch too. Down main though. And that'll ward away the ghosts for now. Still Screwface the raid boss on A main, as TSM have no idea where to press from here. You still have that Nightfall. You still have that pit. Can set up anywhere, anytime, as long as you don't get that one person in your face. So much respect that Screwface is paid to the A push potential. The Vice Wall gives the C push away pretty quick. Vines used early, so a lot is going to be put on note here as the push comes through. Good paranoia from GMD. And he's going to just swing out on top of the timing. And that's a veteran shot. Kumi now stepping in from Waterfall. A little bit early to the party here, and Alvin Boy going to be the first head to catch it, but not the first head that a bullet takes. Instead, it's just a spray down onto Bora. Another impeccable episode of game sense from Nightblood's members. Luckily, this pit continues to play such a valiant role. Screwface, the timing is insane! GMD, so much responsibility now thrust onto this other Omen, but an arm, a bullet that GMD can get away with in the back of the head of Screwface before the final play can be executed. A cliffhanger that Screwface will simply fall off the face of as TSM grabs their first round in 4. And Marks, how is the microphone, man? How you doing, man? How you doing? How we feeling,
listen,
buddy?
we're just going to be praying for this one and hoping that it's going to be that everything kind of works out here. But yeah, I missed some unbelievable plays. I've still got the screen in front of me amidst all of this one. But once again, just making sure that GMD found that round there, despite the Viper's pick going down. It's that resiliency from TSM that is kind of working out. But I feel like my questions for Waylay have continued to remain in the midst of this. An excellent bait from Alvin Boy, though, being able to shut down Son of Car.
Couldn't agree more. This has just been a bit of a disappointing opening for this Waylay tip of the spear that we're normally so excited to see from Timotino. Of course, first week, you know, you got jitters. New team, new space.
Bring them down.
Creeping into C again. 1 for 1. Oh, Kumi just steps into it! We're using nothing!
And now 7. All alone. Kind of make this one work. We'll be just kind of backing out here, but this has just been an absolute showcase from Nightblood Gaming thus far. Even with those early picks there, shutting down what honestly should be the big fear point. If you're coming up against Nightblood Gaming, you're looking at their roster, you see the damage that Kumi as well as Son of Car have been doing. Still, TSM will be able to get this plant down. 7, nowhere near close enough to be able to get that ultimate online. We'll have to weather the storm against 3 members of Nightblood Gaming, all rotating back around. Keep in mind, a Rolling Thunder still available. Torres got all the utility in the world. Let's
And
see
no reason-
whether or not this is gonna work.
No reason not to just throw himself at things, right? I mean, that's almost what he's been doing anyway this whole time. Just playing a bodyguard, playing a chauffeur for these players that we're going to continue to see on the team. Seven has the setup. Seven has the spray timing on top of the flash, but can't keep it going. Nightblood luckily has enough bodies to throw at the problem, and it'll be a 6-3 game.
Man, listen, there's a lot of bullets in the Odin. You know, in a single clip, you can hold that left mouse button for a really long time, but even then, you don't know how long you should be going. Just good awareness to be able to make sure that you find that first one there. But once again, it's just Nightblood gaming, kind of playing the lemur game, just hopping out of nowhere, all popping their heads in the right direction, and suddenly TSM have nothing to work off of. And so, once again, Nightblood Gaming, they find themselves up to 6 already. TSM struggling to find their rounds. They do have a lot of ultimates coming into this next one, but they don't necessarily have the weaponry. The question is whether or not this is going to be the round to make that call to use some of those ultimates, secure an advantage, and try and scoop up some of those weapons in order to make sure that it works out. Already finding one.
Just stepping right back into it, and a rolling thunder to pile drive the rest of the fight. Alvin Boy stepping out on top of the smoke, though, keeping his team on their toes. And Bora has crept even farther inside, leaving Seven room to kill Note along the way. And Nightblood's gaming stack is completely conquered by the remainder of TSM. That's a round out of nowhere, Marks. I mean, that's completely restabilized the economy, the ult rotation, that's done it all. And it came off of just running it down B-site and just killing people along the way. Alvin Boy this time being the guy that's just letting everybody else in on his leash as he kills 2. What a carry to get 2 of these team members in. That is stunning from Alvin Boy.
I was getting PTSD for round number 2 where Nightblood came in with the weaker weaponry. Once again, just kind of slapped TSM around on B, but that time around, TSM, they do them one better. And like you said, it completely stabilizes everything, which is what's going to be extremely important for the rest of this half. Like I said, a couple of ultimates still available. Didn't have to use any of them. Right off the bat, we're seeing that lockdown get utilized. And so Nightblood Gaming, they're going to have to respect this and back off that A site. Should allow TSM an opportunity to get the spike down nice, squeaky clean.
Timatino going to try and push on top of this. Not going any farther than just the drop hold, though. Going to let TSM kind of spread their wings for the post plant. Nightblood Gaming see the opening from stairs, though, and with Screwface just spraying it down. Nightfall's gonna be tossed, but Son of Kara has gotten in. TSM not checking it. He's still watching, but too much to look around for as the rest of Nightblood Gaming can't come in and follow. And it's just a little too segmented for Nightblood this time. TSM able to kind of wrap things up on their own accords and bring things to a 5-6 half. We have quickly turned this into a very even game.
And I gotta say, that was just off the back of GMD there. The paranoia comes through and catches 3 members. Sure, Son of Kara was able to sneak through, able to find a kill right off the bat, but then at that point, GMD made sure that the reinforcements were not there to effectively trade off of Son of Kara. And on top of that too, was the knife in Son of Kara's back. So an excellent little play with that Omen off site there. Once again, we're seeing Nightblood Gaming just take so much space outside of A. They want to make sure to win out that fight every single time. And a quick rotation over to the B site. TSM, though, they're not biting on any of these sites. This time around, so aware of the danger that Nightblood Gaming poses when on some of these saving rounds. And so, hey, we've got the better weaponry. Let's just hang back and make them come to us. And now we can finally make our advancements. Now that we know Nightblood Gaming have segmented themselves all throughout the map into a more classic defensive position, let's try and flex our weapon advantage a bit, and they should be able to find a couple of things.
Immediate press
Or not.
as Note spots 1. A little bit too early to grab anything, but Carr just keeps watching and gets 2. Huh? Alvora's alone. This happens out of nowhere. I mean, that was just immediate. They just kept watching the door after he threw the showstopper, and it just worked.
30 seconds left.
It just went right
It's
back
like-
in.
You know, I sat here, I thought I put together a nice, beautiful narrative about how TSM are going to be doing some crazy things. But turns out the person who is playing out of his mind right now is, of course, son of Carvora. An honest effort there, but Cora, just from down lane, will make sure to shut that one down. So Nightblood Gaming, they find it now, 7-5. And once again, this is their map pick, so that's a good half coming out from them.
Just a round after round of just a fragile house of cards that can get torn to shreds with just one breath from an angle that isn't being watched. That is what defined the first half of this game for both sides, really. Nightblood Gaming really started to show a couple of cracks themselves. Of course, they have a sub, so to be expected. But TSM has started to find the rhythm. Timatino hopefully will start to find a little more space and kills on this Waylay. Needs to in order to clutch up for this defense.
And honestly, that's one of those things, like, just to harp on the Waylay for a second, while Son of Kara is going to be able to find a kill already onto 7, opening up that C site. But at TSM, they're moving up through mid, and Screwface not ready for that one.
Not at all. Now, Carr gonna toss in the paint shells into the hiding spot, and Alvin Boy, the only one not able to get out. Kumi on the lurk as well, catching GMD. Nightblood Gaming still have more than enough time to play this pistol through. Bora is here very early, though. Gonna search for one at least.
Ooh.
Very brave repeats, and he still finds one. But as Timatino is unfortunately, once again, unable to find anything, he's left alone in the 1v4. And Nightblood Gaming can steamroll it. So another pistol taken by them, as they'll be able to buy into this time and try to get their momentum going without having to play the anti-eco.
And honestly, like, that really just came off the back of Son of Car being able to find that first pick on 7. And we've hyped up 7 quite a bit because 7, playing on TSM, playing that Sentinel role, has had such an impact for the squad on previous rounds. And honestly, still continuing to frag out pretty heavily on this matchup. But Son of Car is just a little bit sharper. And taking down 7 so early not only opens up one of those sites, but it forces TSM to have to compensate for that because they don't want to give Nightblood anything for free, which just allows Nightblood Gaming to play the game exactly how they want and set the pace themselves. This time around, looks like it's going to be this A side hit. Screwface going to be looking around with that Outlaw. Just on the other side is Alvin Boy waiting for that gate to be activated and then hoping for a couple of key right clicks.
Prowler's gonna hit him, but Nightblood Gaming will not press the narrative. Feel that the stack is probably here at this point. 7, great hold. Kumi, unfortunate check. But Nightblood spot a weak point out of that. Easy kill onto 7, good paranoia from GMD, but no, just spraying it down to hold the line of fire. Now it's Torres' turn to hold down the left mouse button, and he'll grab 2. Vora, so much work ahead of him yet again. Does have a Bulldog to do it, but decent health pool from NBG as well. We've seen him do far more. 1 HP here for Son of Car on the seas. Spray up for 2. Screwface misses the first shot! But that's what the Outlaw is for. Nightblood Gaming come away with 1 person on the follow-up.
I was just about to say there, I mean, I was just like, okay, you're walking into a 1v3 scenario. Everybody knows where you are. Surely this one can't happen. But I kind of bit my tongue based off of how a couple of the previous rounds have went and how I predicted things to go. But still, an excellent job damaging the economy towards the end there, because once again, TSM were the ones coming into this one just a little bit more empty-handed after that first pistol round. And so you can see the buy here for Nightblood Gaming. It's incredibly weak. Son of Car going to be bringing in that hero rifle. Screwface is going to have that Bulldog carried over. But the rest of them, they just got pistols in their hands. Meanwhile, TSM, they're bringing the full armory of weapons, and they're going to be storming in onto this C site, which is exactly where 7 wants them to go.
They know they have to be fast, otherwise Timotino and company is going to be able to sprint on back before they can get the spike down, and that is going to be impossible to play for. TSM understand that NBG have won the foot race, at least the first leg of it, and so they'll hand over the site and the spike plant. Now they're the ones on the time crunch. Seven's util is set up too far back to be able to make a proper impact at the moment. It's got to be the active util to be able to make a dent. And with the help of the Razor Vine, TSM's push continues to get delayed. The waterfall leg of it is already a little bit disconnected. And so it's Timotino that now stands alone on it, but Bora has broken through from the back line. And TSM is able to go for their pinch, running down from the high ground. Tora grabbing one on the Sheriff from the back corner. And TSM, it's difficult for them, but it's doable. Two standing as they'll get the defuse.
And it really just came down to those first picks, whether or not Nightblood Gaming were going to be able to stand on their own to secure yet another round. But the fact that it was just a little bit whiffy there, and Timotino stays alive in the midst of all the TSM players kind of missing from Waterfall, that really just sealed the nail on the coffin for Nightblood Gaming. And then TSM, once again, the stronger weaponry can just move in there, and they're fairly confident about that retake to make sure that they flush Nightblood Gaming out. So the first round in this half for TSM, they're more or less able to carry forwards a lot of their weaponry there. We're going to be seeing two of them on that little bit more of a half buy. But Nightblood Gaming, unfortunately, Son of Card did buy up there. Is going to use the showstopper early, but nobody's going to be home here, so that kind of disappears.
He just wants to push with it. That's all he needs. With the Bucky, that's all he needs.
Okay.
He'll just grab one. That's all he wants. Nightblood Gaming can do the rest. Kumi is way too far back from this, and GMT has the perfect timing on the flank. 3 kills for the Omen and a complete 180 for the round, thanks to its longest tenured member, Kumi. Can't do a thing. Wow. One positioning play. Once again, a house of cards. All it takes is one breath from the wrong direction and you're toast.
And I wonder if this is a little bit more telling as to Nightblood Gaming's style on how they want to attack this. There was such a big gap in their back line for GMD to be able to just slip through and find this triple kill, topping it off with a fourth at the very end there onto Kumi as well. But generally speaking, when Nightblood Gaming have flown at TSM, you will notice that usually they just sweep TSM across the board. Maybe TSM have to be a little bit more reactive in spreading themselves out, getting those opportunities from the back line onto Nightblood Gaming and shut it down. Mitigate a bit more of that frontline pressure because it always feels like they're being overrun so early in these rounds.
Timotino peeks from the door. Has this cover fire from 7. Again, so dodgy, even against this eco. But Timotino getting very aggressive on the Outlaw now. Making it work with the buy that NBG has got. Gonna try and, yeah, just farm up that convergent paths. He does so.
Enemy remaining.
Should be a pretty simple cleanup for the rest of TSM on this round. Son of Car has the Phantom. And 7 catches it. So the lead is now 1. TSM, a couple of power plays, turning this into, once again, a very close game.
And sure, obviously, like watching Timotino, outlaw in hand, go, I'm gonna go kill them now, and walk through with the sniper rifle looked really fun and really cool. At the same time, I think that this is still telling about where the weakness of Nightblood Gaming is going to be. It feels like they've got a little bit of tunnel vision when they pick some of those sites, allowing for some of these moments for Timotino and co to slip through into their backline and find those openings to just dismantle them. And as soon as some of those pieces fall, it doesn't really feel like Nightblood Gaming really have a response. Sure, you could look at that last round and be like, well, TSM, they had the better weapons, but it was still mostly just an outlaw that found it. And yeah, sure, you know, the outlaw is a one-shot, one-kill if you don't have stronger weaponry. But at the same time, having those active traders being ready to receive some of that additional pressure if the defense goes more aggressive, if you are Nightblood Gaming, you need to be a little bit more ready for that. So honestly, good job to TSM. They're starting to find those gaps and they're starting to close the scoreline quite a bit.
Starting to put those pieces together. and, like you said, interrupt NBG when they are trying to outrun TSM. A lot of it comes down to these reads, just understanding where NBG is headed. Bora's calling across this year so far has been top-notch. Timatino gonna double down on the C extension with the stack as rest of TSM holding down here on A, where Nightblood is unafraid to show themselves. Prowler catches Alvin. I don't give away the shotgun. You can throw whatever you want at this. And Son of Car unable to make a dent here. 7 still unshakable, but Alvin Boy not so much. Solo hold on the A site. Has a little bit of help from GMD on the drop. Is he in time? He is, but Kumi is just better. That'll be an attempted backstab. But NBG hears both of them. It's all telegraphed. And a rolling thunder will just toss it back again. Bora's already ahead of it, though. Once again, Nightblood Gaming assuming that TSM is just a little slower than they are. But Kumi turns at the right time and catches Teemo. That leaves Bora alone. And Nightblood will execute the crunch. It's 10-8.
I liked the idea from TSM there. I thought it was going to be good. You know, send 3 members around the back. Make sure that you find that flank online. But unfortunately, it adds just a little bit too much pressure to the remaining agents on that A site. Sure, Alvin Boy with the judge should be able to hold down Tree a little bit. And 7, you know, is going to be at least good for 1, holding down a site on their own. But the just aggression from Nightblood Gaming has been, once again, better than TSM's. And so we see Nightblood Gaming just take that site, and suddenly that flank feels discombobulated. The timing doesn't feel as natural. And it all just slowly falls apart from there. Timatino, though, gonna use that convergent path. Does not get an opportunity. Just spray down in the midst of all of this chaos. Lura taking some damage.
They really think they can just continue to execute the play. And Nightblood Gaming just so good at this denial. They understand how to counterplay the Waylay so well.
Face your fear!
Nightfall out from Screwface, essentially guaranteeing the A site. TSM still daring to hold close. Alvin Boy stepping forward on the smoke and grabbing 2. It'll be down to 7 in the 1v2. You know where he's at. Where else could he be?
1 enemy remaining.
Ooh, almost in your nightmares. But Nightblood once again have 1 standing and make it a 3-round lead. We are continuing to just raise question marks around the efficacy of this Waylay. That is gotta be the biggest thing about this. And it's not just the fact that an attempted ult was burned here off of what was just W keying down A main. It's been the entirety of this game. Timatino is better at Yoru than this character, and he could have used that here. I'm really just a little dumbfounded here, Marks.
No, like, you spelled it out exactly. Timatino could have played another duelist, and I think it would have been a little bit more stronger for this composition. What I was scared of seeing was basically Neon upon first patch, where Neon just kind of sends it in. You know, you hope the Neon can find a kill. Oh, it's a distraction. Look at the flashy agent running through. And right now we're seeing the exact same thing from Waylay. There's no system really to support Timatino to maximize value off of a lot of this utility. And sure, they're playing individual frags here, but it simply just is not enough. You can't just have one of those single rounds where you find a couple of sniper shots. And already noted, make sure that Timatino is not going to be playing in the rest of this one, as Nightblood Gaming are 1 away from sending this to map point.
It's just so contingent on Timatino getting a first blood or getting the kill before he can refract. It's so important that Timatino gets the first kill, and he just hasn't. 7 though, holding it down on the Sea River. The stack completely phased. It's Tora and Note left. Spike in tow. 2v3. Not great health.
30 seconds left.
Yeah, they don't have that much HP. 30 seconds left on the clock. 7 honestly was one of the largest reasons why TSM were making a run at playoffs and why so many people had their eyes on this team. Just sprays through smoke, finding 2. GMD sealing the deal there. TSM, they stay alive yet again, and it's all because 7 was in the right place at the right time, spraying through the smokes and mowing down the players of Nightblood Gaming.
Yeah, great setup by 7 there to get that ultimate denial, and they really threw the book at him that time too. The C's on top of the nade. They really thought the boxes were cleared. But 7, that's the kind of confidence that you would imagine would get Timatino a little farther here. Sorry, I don't mean to like beat the dead horse that just joined the team, but like it's just so unfortunate that the remainder of this push can't really do much. 7 having to do that, having to hold down that stalwart, especially since the C's cracked him. I mean, he kind of has no choice.
Yeah.
But
and,
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, that was it.
We're
Go
all
ahead.
so polite on cast here.
No, after you.
Why, thank you, good sir. No, but now 7 gets that lockdown online, which also to the economy for Nightblood Gaming not looking as sharp as it should be. And so there's a real opportunity here for TSM to start to bring themselves back. Keep in mind too, Alvin Boy does have the Viper's Pit available, can bust out that ultimate at any point to really deny a lot of that pressure that Nightblood Gaming might be going for. So TSM, if they continue to play their cards right, they are feeling nice and comfortable with where this game is at. Of course, though, this is Nightblood Gaming. Their thrifties have been kind of nasty, kind of unreal, so I don't want to hold them to anything just quite yet, as Timatino so far forward and is actually able to catch Son of Car on that exit.
And in the spray war on top of the smoke, TSM understanding how to get aggressive on Rubble with this agent. Very good start to the macro game in round 21. Just gonna re-up it. See if anybody else from Nightblood dares to try to peek it. So far, so good for TSM. Prowler forces a second swing. And TSM forcing out victim after victim, doing what you gotta do. GMD really deciding to stick around until Note kills him. And now it's Timatino's turn. Can't manage to get the kill yet. Has to be Alvin Boy to finalize, and he can. TSM do have enough, and they have now been able to at least condition the right kind of aggression on Rubble. But can you do that again now that Nightblood have guns and ults?
And honestly, I think that's going to be the question of this next round, because a big reason why this was successful was just, you know, Nightblood Gaming understanding the pressure that TSM were applying. Okay, let's just back out of here. And then thanks to a little bit of information, it's given away. Timatino able to find a spray down, and GMD just kind of holding things down, making sure that everything works. But look at this. Timatino goes in again. It's so aggressive. Son of Car lets one loose as well. It's 2 members already down for TSM.
Because they know there's more behind it. There has to be. And they know that the Prowler has caught another. Note's bullets will find GMD. And it's another NBG snowball here on the attack. That'll no doubt take him to 12 unless 7 has another miracle round. He's known to produce them. 2 on the board already. Turns into 3. And Alvin Boy almost able to get in at the right time. But NBG damage control is there and they can nail in at 12.
Man, that's crazy. 7 just got to pop it off there. And finding 3 kills despite all of this pressure being applied to that A site. You know, Nightblood Gaming are going to be very careful before moving in on any of this Killjoy utility. But like you said, Nightblood Gaming, win condition in front of them. They just need 1 more round. Excellent use of the showstopper from Son of Car. Clear out more. Completely dismantle all of the pressure that TSM impact onto that site. But Timatino on top of it this time finds 2 kills right off the back in that scrimmage.
They did it the right way. Oh, I'm so happy. That was the most gorgeous it's looked so far. And it doesn't have to be replicable at this point because it's so dang late in the game. NBG have to try and, again, speed things up a little bit harder on the other end. And it's Car's job to do that, but 7, yet again, is there. Did he bring a +1 to this game? Because he ate.
Yeah, 7 honestly has just been like farming 23 kills so far on the Killjoy. And to be fair, like we've not to beat a dead horse as well, but 7 has been doing a fantastic job on TSM's team. Obviously, we know that GMD is always going to be good for some of those more trickier angles, but 7 is so reliable as an anchor that when it's in these kind of frantic moments that Nightblood Gaming just ease off the gas pedal for a second, the Killjoy is there and ready to punish them. So an excellent job from TSM to able to stabilize it. They just need one more round to force this overtime, but Son of Car is flying in.
Already almost gets punished by Vora's early peek. Now a rolling thunder into the C door as Kumi's running it down, and NBG have enough guns to try and run this fight the right way, despite the lack of rifles. They know someone could still be close here. GMD avoiding the early fire, but NBG swing into it. 5v3. Vora, yet again, early to this. But TSM have to be prepared for anything. They have to be prepared for the double back. Now the Steel Garden's going to come into play. Truly equal footing to try to net game point for Nightblood Gaming. But Timo didn't get hit by it and can still spray through from the waterfall. Rifles are back for TSM. Swings are back too. And it's a 2v2 to end things in regulation. NBG recognize there's too much in their way and still enough time for them to pivot. So they will hit the door. It's a foot race for the ages, folks. Through Lotus we go. Over to the A site. NBG have a scrap of time to hold on to as TSM have to do the legwork of clearing.
And look at this. They're already sending Tora up forwards. Finger in hand could be deadly at close range. At this point, enough time should be able to pass. So a lot of this utility should come online for both of these teams right now in this 2v2 scenario. Nightblood Gaming spreading themselves out. That's a risky gamble.
And Tora find the timing. How the spike is oriented, it shouldn't be too hard, but Screwface, such a vulnerable spot, already given away with the Haunt, having to distract with his own. Catches both Alvin and Vora. They don't care. They just want to fight. Vora can't win it. In on his own bite. Alvin reduces it to a 1v1, but there's just no time, and Tora is still kicking. Alvin's got to win this fight, and he doesn't have the time to do everything. He's not going to have the time to do one. Nightblood Gaming can edge out their first map here on Challengers, and it's a 1-0 lead over TSM.